we need a nice fade out. We're professional here. Well, I'm just going to speak over it, because I'm actually just going to make a very quick announcement. So, you may have noticed there's a whole bunch of chairs up here for the empty souls that just aren't here yet. Because this is Chicago in February, and they're currently on the L or trying to dig themselves out. So, if it's okay with you all, what I would like to do is maybe push our start just a few minutes, 15 or so. Okay, don't serve this man anymore. Cut off. I'm kidding. Serve him only Funkytown with a funnel. And I also just want to say welcome. I said welcome to some of you as you came in. But my name is Whitney. I'm going to be your host for this evening. And I just want to take a quick temperature. How many of y'all, this is your first time at a Grown Folk Stories event? So all my regulars just decided not to come tonight, that's fine. So here's what I just want to make sure that you know, is that you all are the show this evening. We are an open mic storytelling event. And if you don't want to tell a story, like I could stand up here for 2 hours and tell stories. I mean, I know you've only heard me talk for about a minute, but I know you know that about me already. But you don't want me to tell stories for 2 hours. You want to hear from the people in your community. So here's how, if you are moved at any point tonight, you can tell a story. We have a bucket right here and a couple pieces of paper, and there is a pen. It's very complicated, I know. You're going to write down your name. You get bonus points if you spell it phonetically, because I have to say it out loud. Help me out. So write your name down, put it in the bucket, I pick them out. That's it. Very simple, very easy. So if you're moved now, if you moved after hearing a couple people tell stories, because believe me, this is actually really easy. Call on up, put your name in the bucket, and join us. Cool? Cool. So enjoy yourself. We'll start in about 15, 20 minutes or so. Thank you. said, oh, hey, y'all. I know this has to be the most lit group of Chicagoans because you're out here in a blizzard.
All right.
This group of people, they've been here since like 6:15. They are broke. So everyone needs to catch up with them. Make my stories better.
That's the focal point where it should be.
No, I'm kidding. Be safe. Welcome to Grown Folk Stories. I know there's been a pandemic, but act like y'all been to a show before. I'm kidding. Welcome. My name is Whitney. I'll be your hostess for the evening. I'm really excited because we are here in partnership. This is our first Grown Folk Stories of 2022. And I'm so happy to be here in partnership with Haymarket and Funkytown Brewery. So I'm going to bring some of the gentlemen up from Funkytown in a moment, but I wanted to first introduce folks to Grown Folk Stories if you don't know a lot about our culture or what we do or how we do it. So we are an open mic storytelling show, meaning I am hosting, but I have no idea what someone else is going to say once I hand them a mic. So with that in mind, do the best that you need to do. Some stories might be heavy. If you need to take a break, if you need to take a walk, you need to just take care of yourself after hearing something, please go ahead and do that. I want you to feel like you have permission to react and be human throughout this entire night. Also, because we're an open mic show, that means every single person in the room is a potential storyteller. So I get it. You may be thinking like, wait, I don't have any stories. You know y'all have stories. After a couple beers, y'all have great stories, right? So you may see somebody come up here and then think to yourself, wait, I can do that. And you can. I know we have a lot of folks who are not Grown Folks regulars, but I'll tell you right now, Grown Folks has the best audience in Chicago. When you think about a place to get a little vulnerable, to do something a little risky, Grown Folks is a wonderful place to do that. So for storytellers that are going to come up, you have 5 minutes to tell a story. You don't have to keep time. Don't worry. We have a wonderful timekeeper. Jonathan is right here, right in the middle. So when you're sitting there telling a story, you're going to be able to see his beautiful face. And he's going to hold up signs throughout your story to let you know where you are. So the first one at 4 minutes is going to be that you have 1 minute left. I know that's difficult math for some of us. I did not take math past the age of 15. But don't worry, he's got it. He's got it. Then you're going to see a sign that says, your time is up. Now, when this happens, people usually go, and then that happened, the end. Drop the mic and run away, crying and screaming, saying, I'm never going back to Grown Folks Stories again, that woman's mean. Don't worry. Because we know you're not the best at timekeeping, none of us are, you actually get a little bit of a grace period. So at 6 minutes, he is going to hold up a sign that says, seriously. And then at 7 minutes, I'm just going to stand up and start clapping. We're all going to start clapping for you. And you laugh, but people really do get to 7 minutes. So if you're thinking right now that you might want to tell a story, and again, some of you in this room are like, I'm not going to do that. And you are. It's just going to happen. Really think right now, what is the best part of my story? Because I don't want you to get up here to 6 minutes and then say, no, but then the best part was... Visualize that best part now. You got it. You got it. I'll also say there are no themes for Grown Folk Stories. So again, I said I don't know what people are going to say when they're going to come up and say it. Some people come up and they tell stories to make you laugh. Some people tell stories to make you think. Some people tell stories that make you cry, and that's okay. It's part of our wonderful range of human emotion. So you may feel touched by something. You may feel moved by something. You may just think, oh my God, right, that thing happened to me too. Let me go up and say it. I want to tell you whatever you get inspired to tell is the perfect thing to tell. That being said, don't be a bigot. Read the room. They're not going to have it, and I'm not going to protect you. I'll show you where the door is, though. But other than that, we really don't have any rules. So again, all stories are great, all stories are beautiful, and all stories are welcome here. What did I miss? oh my God, that was it. You guys, I never do that. I never get them all. So with that, I want to give a little bit of space for our partners for the night. So Funkytown Brewing, I just have to say, I grew up with these gentlemen, and they are really fantastic humans. And so I really can't be more excited to introduce you to them and their brand this evening. How many of you are here tonight because you know of or love Funkytown? Okay. I'm gonna ask that question again at the end, and you guys are all gonna be like, woo! One of you's gonna take their shirt off. Somebody's probably gonna take their pants off. I don't know. I'm sorry, Greg has something to ask you.
You gotta try that again. Come on, y'all. Come on. We're the Funkytown Brewery.
So I'm gonna have them share their story for the evening before I get started on mine. Am I giving you both mics? What are we doing? By the way, this is Greg. Say hi to Greg, everybody.
Yo, what's the word?
Greg was like, I'm not gonna tell his story. Didn't I tell you? People get real brave at growing stories, and this is a good place to be brave. So, who am I giving this to? You see how he strategically has 2 drinks in his hand to be like, you can give it to me. There you go. Give up for Funkytown!
What up, y'all? I don't really have a story to tell, but we're gonna try to explore like a moment where we kind of came together and like thought like we need to start a business and work together, right? So, these are my boys. This is Greg. I've known him since 4th grade. Zach since 7th grade. 27.
I still don't like it.
So we took this trip in 2017, right? We went to Thailand, like just a dope group trip. And then like we came back. And then like, just like after that, there was just like this hole. And all of us, like we had to figure it out. And that's what we're gonna try to explore, like what got us like started in the brewery, right? So like we came back, it was like February, it was like the dopest experience we ever had. We went back to our regular lives working. How did you feel?
Felt like shit. Like I went out and I saw some of the most beautiful places in the world. I met some of the most beautiful people in the world. I was in a space where like they loved my skin color. Like I was in that type of space where, and also I could spend $40 and live like a millionaire. So it was the most beautiful experience I think that I've ever had, just being across seas, being that far away. And then needing to come back, like, yo, I gotta keep doing this. I gotta do this every year. Like, I gotta find a way to do it. So we kind of just linked up. Kind of had everybody had, I ain't gonna say everybody had the same type of story, the same type of feeling, but all individual feelings kind of came and we just collected. It was like, all right, this is what we want to do. So.
Yeah, because my feeling, I was broke. I ain't gonna lie. I saved all my money for that trip. Like I knew, like we finna wild out for 10 days. Let me get all my bread, so yeah, I got back. I went back to work sad, head down. He's like, what's up, Greg? How you doing? I'm usually the only black person on my team, so I come, hey, Greg, how's it going? Like, what's up, y'all? Just sad inside, like, I gotta come back to the ship, man. Back to Schlobby.
Yeah, so, basically that was it, like a range of sadness, you know what I'm saying? So like Thailand trip, man, like what was dope about it, and like what all we experienced is like, let me talk about one thing, like this, my guy Greg, like I know that we love dogs, because like everywhere we go, we play with stray dogs. I was mad at him one morning in Thailand, because we had like this, these chicken skewers that we didn't like. And they got up early and fed the dogs, right? And then I got up and saw the video of them feeding the dogs, and Graves out there like, this is for my dogs, this is for my dogs. I'm in the Junetown though, it's the robe, I called it the Junetown for the 10 days, it's a robe. I'm naked as hell under the robe though. Outside feeding dogs. What else? The food, like you said, we was living like millionaires, the food was cheap and great. We came back, you know, we was eating all the Thai food, trying to cook it ourselves.
Yeah, I messed that one up. I ain't even gonna say tell y'all what happened. It's just bad. Can't cook that stuff. But what was it? Dum dum, what was it? Yeah.
Dim sum?
I'm just gonna believe you. Just say it out loud.
Said it with confidence.
He said dumb.
Dum sum.
Dim sum. It's dim sum. Dum
yeah,
dum.
man, like that feeling, like, so it was a culture. Like, we'd be walking up the street, right? And, you know, it is what it is. Like, experience race, like, in a different country. Like, you know, they don't know a lot of black people. Thailanders did love us because, like, Barack's one of the only sitting presidents to, like, visit there in, like, a long time. So, you know, they don't just know a lot of black people. So we walk up the street and they be like, Michael Jordan. They call me Harden. James Harden. My beard's a little big, so they immediately Harden. I'm like, bro, I'm 5'9", bro. He's 6'6" in the league. Like, no. But thank you, though. Yeah. So we both had beards, so they call him James Harden. They look at me and laugh. They would also call me James Harden. And then like, they look at Zach with no beard and also call him James Harden. That's just who they know. But like, it didn't feel like, you know, prejudice in anything. You know what I mean? But like, it was just like this cultural experience that we had that kind of had us motivated to like figure out what's next in our lives. And that's kind of like what like sparked us to get started with the business. So,
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. There are 3 brews on tap right now.
2 on tap, 1 available in can. Hip Hop's in our brew, our flagship, American Pale Ale is on tap. Black is Beautiful, our special collaboration beer that's available this month and next month is on tap. And with blueberry and Madagascar vanilla in the south. It's 7% too. If you're scared to come on stage, get that Black is Beautiful. And then we got
Very efficient.
And then we got Woo Out the Band in cans. So,
Which is a very pretty can. Does anybody shop that way? Like, ooh, this looks cute. It's a very pretty can. Ooh.
and if you don't like beer, just imagine it's cider and buy it anyway.
Wonderful. Please give it up one more time for our gentlemen, our partners from Funkytown. They may come up here and tell stories as individuals now. Greg was like, no, I'm not going to. What a ham. So I'm going to tell a quick story, which actually is a little bit inspired by what y'all said. So I am also a dog lover. Like, I didn't always have dogs growing up, but I sort of became a really big dog lover as an adult. And I had to put my dog down on Monday, which was my Valentine's Day. Yeah, I didn't know that when I made the appointment. So, but I did want to tell just a quick story about my Moose. That was my dog. So I didn't really think that I would fall in love with the dog in this way, but he was my shadow. Anytime I would get up and especially walk to the kitchen, but anytime I'm walking anywhere in the apartment, I hear these little click, 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 right? And I had him for 10 years. When he was a baby, I knew it. When he was maybe 8 weeks old, I lived in an apartment complex where we all had a shared back deck. And my neighbor, Charlie, came home with this floppy little brown dog that just took over the whole complex. If your door was open, Moose was coming in to see what was going on. And when Moose was about 9 months old, I was looking for a dog. And I was actually about to head out of the apartment to go to, what is it called? What's Chicago's pound called? No, not Pause. I was going to the city. Maybe it was not a good idea. But I was going to the city's pound, whatever it's called. And my roommate at the time was like, oh, you should actually probably talk to Charlie because he said something about getting rid of Moose. Now, Moose was the cutest, sweetest, happiest little dog. So in my mind, I'm like, why? There is a catch here. And I went over to the apartment and I saw that Moose had lost all of the fur on his face. And I was like, Charlie, what the fuck? Like, how are you gonna get rid of this dog? Like, nobody wants a lemon like this. And he was like, listen, I think it's actually the food that he's eating. I think it's an allergy. And honestly, I don't have the money or the time to put into like getting him healthy, but it can't be, this is a recent thing. There's no way this is like how he's gonna live the rest of his life. And I was like, okay, gotcha. That was how he lived the rest of his life. Moose was constantly in and out of vets. He actually had 3 different vets. One of them he liked. 2 of them he was like, fuck you lady, why are you bringing me here? But Moose was constantly in need of attention. He was constantly in need of like figuring out different doses of medication. There were times where it would be like, we would go 6 months without a flare-up, and that was like the biggest accomplishment in my life. But I was constantly caring for this little animal, constantly thinking about how can I make his life just a tiny bit better. And when it came time to actually making a decision to, I don't know if put him down is actually even the right word, like put him to sleep or, think about ending his life, it was actually a really easy decision. He had been diagnosed in December with a facial tumor, which is actually not that uncommon for dogs. I didn't really realize that. But we had sort of seen a growth happening, and it was on his cheek. So it looked like he had like a little cheekbone. It was very, Anna Wintour Vogue. Right? And I had seen it, and I took him to the vet, and we did measurements, and she was like, okay, just watch it. We'll just watch and see if it gets any bigger. And it didn't. Sort of stayed the same size for about a year. And then one day he started chattering his teeth. And I was like, that's weird. He must be cold. Let me get you a cute dog sweater. Because nothing's better than spending money you're not supposed to spend on a dog, because it's him, it's not me, right? So I found out that it had nothing to do with him being cold, right? So I took him back to the vet, and I was like, I don't really understand what's happening. He's chattering his teeth. And that seems like a really weird behavior for a dog. And she lifts up his lip. And the tumor didn't grow out. It grew down and into his face and into his mouth. So by the time I really understood what was happening, his teeth, it was all up in his hard palate. His teeth were being pressed. And he was probably living every day with a little bit of a migraine. So this dog that had been working to give him the best life and make him comfortable and make sure that he wasn't in pain or he wasn't uncomfortable, I knew that this was actually the end of that road, that there wasn't actually much that I could do. So I researched opportunities and things I could do to sort of keep the pain at bay, but my choices were give him medication, spoil the shit out of him, or get a surgery that's going to remove half his face. And so it was a really, really easy decision. So there came a day, I guess it was last week, where I gave him an apple, like one of his favorite things. He was our garbage disposal at the house. Basically, I could be like chopping almost any vegetable and just throw it on the floor. The floor's a little dirty right now because I don't have a dog to clean it up. But it was really easy. Like I could just give him anything and he would eat it. And I gave him an apple and it just sat there. He didn't eat it. He was just in too much pain to even bite it. And that's when we made the decision that that was it. The best thing that I could do for him was to let him go. And so I made the appointment and I spent days crying. He was still here. He was in front of me. He would be looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Let's go outside, bitch. And I just couldn't get myself over this hump of feeling the impending loss before it had even started. And so anybody who has a pet, I will just say right now, they're not paying me, but Lack of Love is really amazing. Yes. Dr. Miranda came to my home and she was absolutely wonderful in telling me the things that I needed to hear, which was that I was making the right decision. I was making it for Moose. And she gave me medication, we spoiled the shit out of him, Jonathan made a mistake, which he ate in one bite, which is insane. But he literally got, but he literally got to just die in my lap. Like I got to cradle his giant dinosaur head as he just fell asleep forever. And I actually have to say, the most incredible peace came over me in that moment. All of that anxiousness, all of that anxiety, all of that worrying and wondering and crying because I couldn't do anything. I had actually done something. I had done the one thing that he needed me to do when it was hardest for me to do it. And I think it made me think about how often the anticipation of pain is worse than the pain itself. And so there might be something that you're holding on to or something that you're thinking to yourself like, I can't do that. And I just invite you to be in inquiry with yourself. Like, is the anticipation of my pain actually worse than the pain? Thank you. Some of y'all know what to do. All right, our first storyteller of the evening, Ms. Sophia. Where are you at, Sophia? Come on down, please.
Thanks for making me practice for this.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
Well, it was Valentine's this week, and it reminded me of my first love. And I probably shouldn't admit this in public, but in 1994, which is a while ago, I was 15 years old, and I experienced my first love. And I'm Mexican, if you can't tell. And I come from a very traditional Mexican family. And in a traditional Mexican family, when you turn 15, you have a quinceañera, and that means that you've officially become a woman at 15 years old, which meant that I could wear makeup. And I can tell you that when I sneaked wearing makeup at school and got caught by my mom, like, she slapped me and called me a whore. So it was a big deal to be able to wear makeup. And then the second thing is that I was finally able to date, right? Like, they've been telling me all of my life, you can't date. But now I was 15 and I was officially a woman, so I could start dating. And I had a best friend at the time, Michelle, and she knew some guys in Palatine. I lived in Wheeling. And we started hanging out with these two Latino guys, one named Chalo and one named Fernando. And Fernando was tall for a Mexican guy. He was probably like 5'10". He had a cute baby face, beautiful brown eyes, and I had a major crush. And so I don't know how the flirtation started, but eventually we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and this was my first love. And if you remember, in the 90s, like, you would do like mixtapes, and he would give me mixtapes, right? Because, and I don't know if you guys millennials know what mixtapes are. But they were before CDs. And you know, I'm Latina, and I grew up in the Chicagoland area, so we would listen to a lot of freestyle. I don't know if anybody knows what freestyle. And I'd get these freestyle tapes from him. He'd go to the mall and he'd buy me my freestyle tapes. And I think for Valentine's Day, he gave me a teddy, you know, with a fake rose. And, you know, eventually, you know, we had sex, and it was the first time I had sex. I remember I come from a very traditional, conservative Mexican family, and the only sex talk I had ever had was, don't be a whore, don't have sex. So when I had sex, like, I don't think I even knew how things functioned. Like, I didn't know that things were, you know, I didn't know. But Fernando met my parents because he was allowed to meet my parents because I was allowed to date. He took me to my first homecoming dance. And then he picked me up in his parents' minivan. And we parked in that minivan, we'd be rocking. And so I think we dated around 6-8 months. And he, at the end of it, he just started like distancing himself, right? He started to be like this too cool for school kind of guy. He didn't want to hang out. He wasn't calling me. And, you know, I didn't know what I had done. I just, you know, we went from being lovebirds to like, I'm not that into you. We broke up. And when we broke up, I really was just like, this was before you could stalk someone on Facebook. So I would just like call his phone, but like where you could block your phone number to kind of hear his voicemail, to see what his voicemail sounded like. Because, you know, he had songs on there. And just a couple of days after we broke up, what I found out when I was telling someone was, I was telling a friend in high school, and he's like, oh, you broke up because you must have found out. And I said, found out about what? And he said, oh, you didn't know that he got, you know, Joanna pregnant? And I said, no. So of course I found out who Joanna was. I called her. We had been broken up for a week, and she said it was true. She had gotten pregnant. She had gotten an abortion. And so it was my first love and my first heartbreak. Yeah. And I still stopped him in the photo for a little bit. Eventually I heard that he had a long-time girlfriend. And he ended up fathering a couple of children with her. But what really broke my heart was that he got involved in gangs and drugs, and he ended up being murdered, like sometime in my early 20s, because of a bad drug deal. But I told you my age, I'm 43, I'm still single, and that's where I'm at today.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Why are you making us all cry? And really, I am so sorry for your loss. You know, it's funny, as we get older, we sort of see people start to drop off or fall into patterns that we see as being destructive. And I think it's really great to be able to honor them in whatever way we can. Remembering the person they were, remembering all of the things they made you feel, the good, the bad, the ugly. So thank you for sharing this life with us. I will say too, that whole like, don't have sex as sex education didn't really work. I had to find out what a blowjob was from my father. Yeah, so I watched the movie True Lies when I think I was 10. Do you know the line I'm talking about? So there's a line where Tom Arnold, first of all, True Lies, are we all True Lies fans in house? Okay, that guy knows what I'm talking about. Come on, Tom Arnold, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Buddy Holly, Jamie Lee Curtis, rowdy bunch. I'm so glad we're activated around True Lies. So there's a line in the movie where Tom Arnold, I still remember this. This is how traumatizing this was for me. There's a line in the movie where Tom Arnold's character, Sister Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, they're like spies or something. And he says, yeah, you blew some cover operation because you were busy getting a blowjob. And I was watching with my brother, who's a year and a half older than me. I'm 10, he's 11 and a half. And I'm like, Neil, what's a blowjob? And he was like, you have to ask Dad. So I did, and my dad told me that it's when, I don't need to explain it to you all, you know what it is. And I was like, well, why isn't it called a suck job? And then I never, ever looked my dad in the face again. No, I'm kidding. My parents were actually pretty cool about it. My mom caught me watching porn when I was in high school, and she basically was like, that's really expensive, okay? Here's some early 20th century erotica. Go read something. That is not a lie. My mom was like, porn is is expensive. Read a book, you idiot. And then I did. We have a next storyteller coming up. Elle, aren't you?
Hey, this is actually my first story for Comfort. But no, I'm gonna tell the story how I got a drugs and weapons charge in Copenhagen, and I did not tell my black mom. Yeah, she knows now. So this is back in 2017. It's the fall of 2017. I was studying in Copenhagen for study abroad, and a part of Copenhagen is this like small like village town called Christiania. And if you're not familiar with Christiania, it's like back in like the 50s and 60s, it was like a military base. And the largest city of Copenhagen went to like just take over because they were done with the war at that point and everything. But there's like squatters in that little like camp section, and the squatters pushed back, and it's leading now like they have like their own legislation, their own government, their own like little schools and everything like that. Is for reference, it's like the equivalent of like if West Loop was like its own city, and then it's just like dealt with like Chicago as like a associate kind of thing, you know. And what's notable about Christiania is that like it is free for drugs. I smoke, and I would frequently go over there just like to get bud and everything like that. It's super notable because like it's really like a science fair because there are basically no laws in there. You walk in and it's really like booth, open bud, open hash, open whatever you want, kind of, you know. And that's it's really just Christiania. But the thing is that once you walk back onto Copenhagen jurisdiction, so if you just pass Roosevelt, you're back on Chicago land, you know. You're subject to that city government, you know. So I went over there and I got a dime. A dime. If you know a dime. And I felt like weird that day. You feel like you ever like have like a day and like you feel weird, you know? So I'm like, I put it in my sock. And I'm walking to the train and everything, and I'm just like walking everything, and it's Copenhagen. I'm like the only black person for miles. You know, miles. And I'm walking, and I feel like this like black, like unmarked, super black SUV like trailing me and everything. And I'm from Chicago, so I started like walking a little bit faster and everything like that. And 2 seconds later, it speeds past me, runs over the sidewalk, blocks me. I don't know if it was, I think it was definitely like the black man in Chicago from me, and I ran the other way. Immediately. So I started running the other way, and there's actually another vehicle also unmarked, and it blocks my other path and everything. Again, I ran in the street. Because I'm like, gee, it's unmarked, it's not like an actual police vehicle, so I'm like, gee, this could be anything, fuck I care, you know? So I started running in the street, and I see like massive SWAT officers come out. Gee, massive, like, yo, I'm 6'2", and I like to feel tall, but I don't like feeling short to niggas around. And yo, they're like cool here, like fully built and everything. Full jackets, all black and everything like that. So they cornered me, it's like on a public sidewalk and everything like that. And they do like a whole question like where I'm coming from, like yo, I'm a student right here, I'm here on a visa of course and everything like that. They asked me if I have like anything on me. I'm a designer, so I was actually there, my program was leader design program, so I have an X-Acto knife on me. And if you know an X-Acto knife, it's literally a 1/4 inch of a blade, you know, literally just for cutting paper and shit, you know. And I learned in that moment that having even a butter knife on you without being locked in your trunk is the same tier as having a gun. No! Yes. Yes. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I don't know if it was like the Chicago in me or like the American in me, but I didn't view them as real cops at the end of the day. Gee, they took my mugshot on the street. The thing is, I still didn't give a fuck because I was like, can I get a copy of that mugshot? Because I was smiling. I was like, gee, you ain't a real cop. This ain't police, you know? So, no, he was like, no, so you cannot get a copy of it. We'll contact you later and everything like that. So I'm walking the train, I'm like, kind of fucked right now. And I immediately called the embassy. And the embassy's like, yo, we can help you out, but it's gonna take a little bit longer. I forgot what was happening at the time, but they just like, they had their hands tied, you know? And they're like, yo, you have to coordinate with your program about it. And I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, I feel like they're gonna kind of like be on my ass about it. And the next day I told them and they're like, yeah, now that we know we have to put you for review on your program. We can't help you, we cannot help you, but we have to put you up for review because they have to coordinate with the actual Copenhagen like government and shit. I get it, but they still kind of like fuck me over, you know? So they put me on review. They actually let me stay, but they told me I had to go to drug therapy. Yes. So a week later, I had to sit down with a therapist and everything like that. A person like is familiar with like drug addiction and all that shit. She read the actual report. It says a gram of bud. We had a short conversation. It was like 15 minutes. She understood. But the thing is that like a week later after that, I got like a letter in the mail, and it was from the official like Copenhagen government saying that it's going back to that X-Acto knife and bud. Once you walk out of Christiana, like that is like they get you, you know. I only got off because I was like a student with the visa at the time. But then it's like on your record for 5 years. It gets expunged automatically after 5 years. This is back in 2017, so in 2022, my last like 20 seconds, I get in trouble. I used to get in trouble a lot with my mom and everything. And my thing is that like if I get in trouble, I'm gonna learn all the facts before I tell you. You know, I'm not gonna like keep telling you like bad news after bad news. You know, so I didn't tell her a lick of it for like maybe like 3.5 weeks, maybe 4 weeks actually. But no, she's cool with it now. But yeah.
I love it. Do I have any Wire fans in the house? Oh! I got one. That's all I need. It's weird that Amsterdam has its own Hamsterdam. That didn't land with my one wire? Oh. Okay, it just wasn't funny. Thank you. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's funny. I did not get to do study abroad because I had a program that was basically like, oh, if you're going to take one semester, you have to take the entire year. So I didn't do it, and I kind of wish that I had, and I think sometimes about like, what would it be like to do it as like a 37-year-old? To just like roll up in Spain being like, hablo español, teach me. And I'm pretty sure they would just be like, there's the door. You have to leave now. I would take all the cheese with me, because I feel like that's kind of a thing in Spain. No, but I'm not particularly cultured, and I feel like that was an opportunity to do so. Did anybody else do study abroad out here? Yeah. Fuck y'all. No, I'm kidding. I love your cultured asses. Where's Brad? Hey! Come on up, give it up for Brad, y'all!
So I guess the first question is, any vegans? All right, so you're probably going to be offended by my story. So this kind of goes back to like earlier in my dating history where I thought that people's dietary preferences didn't really matter. And I've learned otherwise since then. But, so going back, met this person online, I think it was like Hinge or something like that. Like we went out for like a date, she's like, oh, pick a place, you know, it's like, I'm fine with whatever. So I was like, oh, there's like a Mexican restaurant nearby. I had no idea she was vegan. So we go and she's like, oh, it's like Mexican food. It's like, there's never a vegan option here. It's like, I always had cheese on something. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that you were vegan? But whatever, the date went well. So, you know, things progress. And then fast forward to like a couple months later, we're sitting like relaxing, things are going well. And like out of nowhere, she like hits me with this hypothetical. And it's never a good thing when you get hit with a hypothetical in a relationship. And it's like, as a guy, it's like you're kind of prepared for like the typical ones, like, you know, would you love me if I was a bird? Or, you know, would you be okay raising our babies vegan? And I was just like, wait, what? Because like, for one, like to give like context why this kind of like took me by storm, because like the day before she had asked me, she's like, have you thought about like what baby names like you would pick? And I was just like, no. She's like, I think I would name my daughter Athena. And I was like, Athena? I was like, what are you gonna name her son, like Poseidon or something? No. And she's like, but I'd want to like spell it like a unique way. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, this relationship has a timeline. Like, there's no, it's the kind of person who just throws like extra Y's in a name for like no reason. So I was kind of concerned. It's like, this is like the second day in a row, it's like we're talking about babies, and I was just like, you know, like doing the math in my head, I was just like, this doesn't add up. It's like, what are we talking about? And she's like, no, it's like, it's just something that's like, you know, important to me. I want to raise our babies vegan. She kept on saying our baby. And then so I was like, we're not having a baby, right? She's like, no, I'm just like saying. And I was like, okay, now take a second to think about how to answer this question because it could be serious. And, you know, I was like, okay, everything in moderation. It's like, I'm comfortable, like, you know, letting my kids choose what they like. And at the home, it's like, I'm fine with like less meat, you know, being served. I'll be completely okay with that. But specifically vegan, I don't think so. Which I feel like is a reasonable answer, right? It is. Okay. It's not what I said though. What I said was, I was like, vegan? I was like, no, I don't want my kid being in like fast food. Does this have cheese in it? Does this have milk in it? I was like, are there eggs in here? It's like going to his friend's house and be like, I can't have any dairy products. I was like, no, it's like, I don't want my kids to be that kid where everyone's having a pizza party and giving each other high fives, eating brownies. My kids are gonna be the ones to get eating almonds. Like, I don't want it went as well as like you can expect it to. I was like arguing, and it was like in my mind, I was like, why are we arguing about our hypothetical vegan child? It's like, it got to the point where she's like, you don't support, like, you know, what's important to me, and like, clearly you don't care about me, and I'm just like, are you at my place right now? Are you hungry? Did you not just eat? Like, I fed you. You think vegan macaroni and cheese is something that I regularly get? I was like, chia seeds and like all these things, nutritional yeast is something that I have regularly stuff in the closet. Like, I did this for you. And then I'm like, almond milk? I would drink almond milk. So she's like, you know, these are just like small things. I was like, well, when you invited me over to your house and like you fixed me buttered noodles, it's like, I was supportive of that. I said it had an interesting texture. And like, anyway, that's like the only positive thing I could say about it. And it was just like one of those things, like we just like kept on arguing. Like it was like one of like days, like we argued about this, and I was just like, why are we arguing about something that's like not here? She's like, well, it's important to me if we're gonna plan a family. And I was just like, we've been dating for 3 months, like if that 3 months. And she's like, well, I want to have a kid by next year. And it was like November. But yeah, it was just like one of those things. There's like so many like different arguments. Like this isn't even what like ended it. Like it was something even more like ridiculous, and that's a story for another day. It's had to do with Dr. Seuss. But yeah, that's my story.
Right, I'm gonna say, just gonna plant a little seed. There aren't a lot of names in that bucket. So maybe after our intermission we'll hear about Dr. Seuss. Maybe. And I honestly feel like maybe, you know, I'm not saying that we should have to have licenses to have children or something, but you knew that she wasn't gonna care about your kid when she was gonna put a Y, many Ys, in Athena. Sometimes we don't think about how things are gonna be impacting our kids. My parents didn't let me go to school asking people, what's a blowjob? They took care of that at home. And then I did say, why isn't it called a suck job to my second grade teacher?
I'm worried about this. Don't pick me.
I didn't say that. Nothing? Allie! is going to the bathroom. I just wanted to tell y'all that. Bonita!
Come on, man.
Can y'all hear me like this or no?
Yeah, we can. Take that mask off.
Do you want to see my face though?
Yes, we do.
No pressure.
Alright, don't act like I didn't warn you. Okay. Real quick, conservative religious families. No, I came from one. Obviously, I recovered. If you got a fur baby, shout out to you. Okay, I'm gonna tell a story about how I started. It's funny because my boss is right there. I love you so much. Happy birthday. Yeah, close your ears. Earmuffs for you. About how I started smoking broccoli in high school, and my grandma just didn't notice. I'm like, how did you fucking know? Anyways, so you know how you have a high school best friend. They start doing something that you want to do before you, and they're just like, yeah, man, it's cool. And I'm like, that's what I've been hearing. Maybe I'll do that, but for my birthday, so we can really turn up. My birthday's in December. Any Sagittarians in here? Yeah, hey! The two of not this! I was gonna let y'all live, but anyway, if you're not a Sagittarius, do not live. Regardless, that was the plan. It's a random Saturday. My friend's like, yo, you wanna hang out? Of course, why not? Somehow I convinced my grandma to let me hang out. Also, like I said earlier, conservative religious family, hanging out with friends, that's a no-no. Like, what if you do some bad shit? What if the devil gets you? No, didn't want to do that. But somehow, the rapport was made, we hear. He's like, okay, does anyone know what a Myers is? Yes?
Yes.
We're all from the Midwest? Cool. Yes, the grocery store. I'm sorry, I'm from Ohio if you didn't already know. But if you ask me, I'm going to say Chicago. But,
You're from Ohio?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Wow, that's great.
I'm so sorry. Anyone from Ohio? No, fuck Ohio. Anyways, how much time I got left? 3 minutes? 2.5? Okay, cool. Let me wrap this shit up. Anyways, he takes me up. We pull up to Myers. I'm like, okay, are we getting, what are we doing here? He was like, we're about to fucking flame up. I'm like, it's noon! It's noon on a Saturday. A family just got out of the minivan next to us. I don't think this is the best spot to do that. Obviously it's more accepted now, I guess, by local governments, but not back then. Not that long ago, either way. But we were like, okay, fuck it, okay. We flame up in the Myers parking lot. And then somehow we end up at a Walmart. Don't ask me why. We go there and then we get snacks there. I'm like, why didn't we just go to Myers? We were there. 1 year under the influence of certain substances, your decision making is a little bit, it takes the long way, is what I'll say. Yeah, and then there was lightsabers. Started fighting in the aisle. It got to a point where we would smoke out of apples. I'm a DJ. This is very side note. I'm a DJ. My DJ name is Bonita Apple Blunt. That's kind of where that shit came from. And my grandma was like, oh, y'all are so healthy. I'm like, but I would come home. I would be like, this is bad. This is bad. My grandma's like, oh, you had fun with your friend today? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go take a nap. You got anything to eat? Yeah, so it was a lot of that. And then one day, my aunt was like, do you smell smoke? And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, do you smell that? I'm like, no. Where is it coming from? She's like, I don't know, I just smell it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna
go take a nap now. That was basically how I spent my teenage years. Take a nap more often, as we should. But yeah, I don't know how she didn't figure it out. But that was my story of being a teenager, very coming of age, smoking weed with your friend in his minivan in the Midwest. Have a great night. Thank you.
Love it. I love it. I actually didn't realize that, or I didn't think about it this way, that conservative families would somehow like not want you to have friends. Or like religious families are kind of not about like you just going and being with people your own age. And I think the biggest thing I thought about, I grew up Christian and I was like, well, Jesus had friends. He had his disciples, he had his gang, he had his crew, he had his boys. Like why is that not a thing? Because Judas said, hey, here's some weed. I guess. But I think actually, if you're going to be a parent and you want to keep your kid on the straight and narrow, like you have to experience all the things. Like your grandma didn't know because she didn't know what the smell of weed was. She just was like, oh my God, there's a skunk in the backyard. Right? Like she didn't know. So you have to do all the drugs is what I'm saying. If you want kids, do it for your children. Right? Youth, they need us to go there for them. No, actually, I learned recently what a finsta was. Am I saying that correctly, youth? A finsta?
There you go.
There you go. So I actually feel like they would still be able to hide it from me. I'm not up on the trends of the youth. Allie. Join us up here. Allie just went to the restroom, y'all.
Thank you.
She's ready.
Oh, I was ready. I
You touched my hand.
but I washed my hands. Hello, y'all. My name is Allie. Hello. I am the general manager of the Silver Room. Don't One more time for the birthday boy. Shout out to Eric. I haven't been able to make it to a Grown Folks Stories in a really long time since it's been at the store. So it's really nice to see all these people here. It's gorgeous. Y'all are great. I've been working at the store. I've been working, but it's all good. It's all good. I make the schedule. I can't even blame him. It's on me. But I'm gonna tell a story that I think I've told here before, but it's been ages. I don't recognize any of y'all, so I'm gonna tell it again anyways. I'm gonna tell my coming out story. First things first, I'm a dyke. You can't say this unless you eat pussy and art and hate pussy, but I'm a dyke, so I'm gonna start with that. I've been out and queer for a very long time since I discovered sexuality, you know? Like you discover what you like. I like women. I like beautiful women, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. But I was about 13, maybe even 12, and I wrote, I'm a Cancer. I'm an emotional ass Cancer, y'all. Imagine a little 12-year-old's like, I love women. I like girls. So I wrote a letter to my parents telling them, I hope y'all still love me, but I'm a little different. I'm not gonna grow up and have a man and marry a man and have babies with a man. No. So I wrote a letter. I told them, hey guys, I love you guys. I'm still your daughter. I'm still amazing. I'm still great. But I think I'm in love with this girl, you know? I told them, I'm in 8th grade. I have a sweetheart. I'm all in love. It is great. It's not great. It is not motherfucking great. They read that letter and were like, let's sit down and talk about this. So they sit me in this cafe. I love my parents. They're great. They sit me down in this cafe and they're like, Allie, actually, they use my government name. Alyssa, can we talk about this letter real quick? I'm like, well, y'all are together. together anymore. So I suppose that's why we're here. I wrote a letter. Y'all don't even talk to each other. So this is why we're here, to talk about the thing that I just gave you. And they're like, okay, we understand you have a lot of hormones inside of you right now. And I think you're just confused. And I'm just like, no, I think you're confused. I've already had my tongue on a pussy and it's fucking great. Oh my God. I didn't say that part. That would have been fucking wrong. But I definitely thought that. I didn't say that. I just let them talk. They had their moment. They damned me to hell. And I was like, but y'all ain't even religious. And you have me out of wedlock, so I'll see you there, truly. I was like, y'all had me at 18. What you doing? But we had a talk. They're like, all right, this is a phase. I'm like, all right, you not believing me? It's a phase. So it's okay, it's all good. That happened when I was like 13. I'm 27 now, I'm grown. I live on my own, I pay my own bills. I have my own apartment. They can't say shit to me. I have beautiful love surrounding me. I'm polyamorous too, so I got bitches. Yo, polyamory ain't for the weak of heart, I promise you. I'm gonna tell you, it's a lot of hard conversations. I'm a Cancer, I'm gonna cry with multiple people about multiple things. You know, it's hard, it's really hard. But my dad, he's kind of religious, I don't know. He is a blacksmith. He is a Blaxican. He is black and Mexican. Yes, that makes me a quarter black. Happy Black History Month to me. But yeah, so he was raised by his Southern Baptist father. My granddaddy, may he rest in peace. He passed away last year. So drink up to that. He is amazing. 1 minute left, damn. Anyways, so my dad was in gangs when he was young. Right, damn me to hell, that's crazy. He was in gangs when he was young. But he told me we were estranged. We were estranged for about 6 to 8 years after he damned me to hell. Like he has the authority to do that. But he damned me to hell. We recently reconnected in the past year or two. He's great. He works at the YMCA. He helps at-risk youth who deal with like drugs and gang work. And he told me the best thing I ever did to him was tell him about himself. And I'm like, I love that. I'm an Aries moon. I love telling people about themselves. But he was like, no, for real. I have parents who deal with kids that are queer and they just want to shun them and push them away. But he tells me that his biggest regret in life is not accepting me for who I am. And he tells other parents, you gotta do the work to accept your kids as they are. And period. That's it.
Allie, that's so beautiful. I so appreciate that you got to make up at least for some of that time. Yeah. And I think just in general, we don't do enough of giving space to people. Right? Human beings are sort of meaning-making machines. So I see something happen, I take a bunch of disparate data points and I bring them together to make a story. And then I believe that my story is true. Your story is bullshit. It is. It is. And it makes meaning for you and it helps you make sense of the world. But really, we need to actually let go of a lot of our stories. And so I'm really glad that at least someone was able to let go of that and just see you for you. It's beautiful. I have a little request, which is that every time we come up here and say our sun sign or our rising sign or whatever, that you give us just like a little tidbit of what that means. Will anybody else talk? Yeah, and here's how I know. I'm a Leo, which means I only give a shit about Leo shit. So I need you to explain your Cancer bullshit to me. At the break. someone come up here and say some shit, and they thought they could come up here and say some shit, and you can. So we are going to take a very quick break, but before we do, I actually realized I forgot to mention something. The man that everybody keeps pointing to in the front is a guy by the name of Eric Williams. Eric Williams is one of the originators of Grown Folk Stories, and today is his birthday. Which makes him a what?
Aquarius!
It makes him an Aquarius, so ask him about that later. So Eric, I just want to say on behalf of the Grown Folks community, we love you. We love you so much, and we really appreciate you helping to make this space possible. So, wish Eric a happy birthday on the break. He's this man right up here with the shiny head and the killer smile. And there's a cake here for him, which is gonna have to get relit because I can't shut my fucking mouth. And there are sweets in the back over here. And we really want you to go back and get some sweets and talk to the Funkytown Jets, because that's their table as well. So we're going to take a quick break, we're going to listen to some tunes, and we'll be back in a little bit. Alright?
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday Happy birthday.
Hey, that was a great follow-up with Freddie Gibbs.
Hey, Freddie Gibbs.
Ashley said that your favorite was German chocolate cake, so that's what we got.
Oh, thank you. This place, you called it. Let me mute this.
If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. It's my teacher thing. In a previous life. Welcome back. We are going to recommence. Or is it commence? It's recommence. Words. We're going to start telling some stories again. Okay? All right. And I do want to make mention, if you did not visit our snack and merch table, please do. We've grown folks back. We've got some merch, we've got buttons. Who doesn't love a button? Okay, so most of these people don't like buttons. All right, we gotta make sure we know that. I'm just gonna wear all of them at once. All right, we're bringing Colin up to the stage. I also want to say, wait, Colin, are you here? Colin spelled it out phonetically for me. Give it up for Colin, y'all!
Hey everybody, I'm Colin. I've actually been to Grown Folks probably 4 or 5 times now. I'm finally getting the courage to come up and give my first story. I was thinking about it today and was discouraged from some stories, and then I finally thought about the one that I wanted to give, and I was like, alright, yeah, this is the one. I would say it's 3 or 4 years ago. Don't hold me to the date. I had a unique experience that I was asked to attend with my partner that I've been with for quite some time. And my partner was born in the Philippines, and we both are big tattoo enthusiasts. And she happened to get the opportunity to get a tattoo from a original traditional practitioner that was coming through Chicago, and she invited me to join. And I was like, this is super cool. Like, definitely something that I would not typically experience. And so we, actually the way that it worked out is the individual was doing an Airbnb in somebody's basement. And we ended up going there in the middle of an afternoon day. And I'm thinking, like, it's a traditional tattoo that's tapped out. It's not probably going to be that big, maybe like 2-3 hours. I have a couple tattoo myself. I'll give a precursor. I ended up being at this place for, I think, 10 hours. And it was one of the most fulfilling experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. So we get there, and, of course, me being, like, super white and very westernized, like, we don't have any understanding of culture and traditions. And so we get in and, like, we start having, like, a ceremony about, like, what it means to actually get a tattoo, and what it means to the culture, like, why you would get a certain tattoo, and what it means to that particular region, and it was just super interesting. So I went to school for history, so just learning about like the different cultures and what the different tattoos mean, and like how it actually gives you an identity, and like something that's like so truth, like identity affirming, so like the earth and like who we are, was just really interesting to me. So we have this opportunity. And I'm just sitting on the side, doing my thing, just trying to participate as best I can, but also keep my mouth shut because I really don't know too much about this. And there comes a point where in the ceremony where actually the practitioner was like, we're going to call some spirits that are around here. We're going to have them join us to ensure that this is the right type of tattoo and this is a ceremony. And for the first time in my life, I had this really distinct opportunity where he actually turned to me and he was just like, I don't typically say this, but I can feel different energies that are in the room that are happening, and I happen to feel that you might have some like energy to contribute here. Like, can I just ask like a little bit about like your past and like who you are? And I was just like, I don't actually have too much of an understanding, but he's just like, do you have any sort of like cultural roots that you can speak of? And I did know from my grandmother's side from quite some time ago that there was some Native American lineage in my family, And like I did know my grandfather, my great grandfather, and my grandfather grew up on a reservation, like somewhere in the Canada region, but I never really got to know them very well. But he was just like, you know, I definitely feel like there's a part like of you that wants to contribute to this conversation. Like, do you mind if I just do like a couple of things to like just kind of test your energy? And definitely something that I'm not super into all the time, and I don't believe a whole lot of those things. But just like, well, can I test it out? Like, and just see like kind of like what you're feeling. And so he does this thing where like he's just like, I'm gonna essentially channel like all the spiritual energy in the room. I'm gonna show you like what I can do. And so he has me like stick my hands out just like this, and he's just like, I'm gonna channel this energy, and essentially you're just gonna feel all of the like the gravity in there is just fall on me. And I'm just like, okay, like whatever, like, you know, thank you. And I kid you not, like I'm standing here and I have my hands just up, and he's just like all over me, and I just feel this immense weight. And I just like don't know what it is, and I'm just like I can't keep my hands up. I'm kind of like falling down, and I'm just like, wow, like okay, this is super interesting. And then he's just like, well, now I'm gonna give it back to you. And he goes like this, and I swear to God, I felt like I could have punched like through the roof. And I was just like, that was absolutely incredible. Like, you know, what is this? And he's just like, you know, there actually is a lot of power. A lot of strength and the energy that we have as like human beings and individuals. And the reason why I wanted to share this experience is just because like for the first time, as being somebody that, you know, I have a lot to learn like from the world that we have today, and understanding how we can be better human beings to one another. And it's one of the first times in my life that I was just like, you know, we are mutually connected in a way that I feel like is one. So thank you for hearing that. And
Whoa, Colin, thank you for blessing us with that. And I will say, for your first time telling a story, how was it?
It's scary, but it's very fulfilling. Like I would definitely do it 10 times over. So do it.
We cannot wait. Thank you so much, Colin. Thank you so much. And I love what you said too about just being and identifying like as a learner in the world. That like I can actually really connect to the fact that I don't know shit. There's so much power in that. It's funny, I think about things like that, like energy or spirits. My mom sees spirits from time to time, and they don't show themselves to me. And I think that sometimes it's because I don't want to see them. Right? Like there's something that I'm actually not open to yet. And maybe at some point I'll feel some of that energy, or I'll see some of those spirits. Story for another time, but I got a good spirit story. Catch me afterwards. Oh, someone did origami here. Angie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So I happen to know a boyfriend who's also excited. So what's up, everybody? I'm Angie. So I'm gonna be real. Actually, today I wore my braids and I came here and I'm like, I'm gonna get real spiritual. I'm gonna get real deep. I'm gonna have a message. But my coworkers are talking about drugs, and I'm just gonna stay on that. So I'm gonna talk about the first time I did mushrooms. Yeah. And it was in Vegas. Has anybody seen the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Yes. So I stayed at Circus. Yes. If you know that scene, yeah, I can relate a lot to that scene. But here's the thing, I didn't know I was gonna do shrooms. I was 22 years old at the time, super naive. I went with my dad's new girlfriend's daughters who were my age, who I didn't know who the fuck were. I just took the free trip to Vegas. So I'm like, all right, so we're here, and so we're in a hotel room, and we're thinking we're slick, we're like hotboxing the bathroom, you know, when you try to like really steam it out, and like, you have all these like tricks where like you blow into like the toilet with the like fabric softener. You know, it never works. But anyway, so we're in there, and then so someone's like knocks on the door. It's like a friend, someone's cousin who's there, and they're like, okay, so we got 2 brownies. We got happy brownies and we got real happy brownies. And I'm like, well, fuck around. I'm gonna do the real happy brownies, like, of course, you know. And so I didn't know. I was naive. I was just like, all right, I guess they're like mega strong herb brownies, you know. So anyways, I tell you, I eat it, and I'm like, wow, these brownies taste like shit. They taste terrible. But like, I don't know these people too. So like, I'm trying to be polite and like, eating, I'm like, gagging a little bit, right? So anyway, we go into the bathroom, and we're like hotboxing in there. All of a sudden, I feel like a sonic boom just like hit the bathroom. It was like the walls were like, whoa. And I was like, man, I was like, you guys, anybody's feeling these weed brownies? And they're like, weed brownies? Like, no, actually, those are mushroom brownies. And they're like, didn't you taste it? And I was like, I did, I was trying to be nice. So I'm like, fuck, I wasn't ready. So I'm like, all right, I'm like, damn, all right. So like,
it's before me.
The circus are like, all right, this is it. We're gonna take the town. We're gonna go on the strip. You leave and there's clowns everywhere in circus. And it's like, yeah, it's not like a thing I like. Like, no one really likes clowns. Like, they're always creepy. And so there's like this carousel where there's like, it's like a merry-go-round, but it's like a casino on the merry-go-round or whatever. And it's so slow. It's going like ridiculously slow. I just remember trying to step onto that thing. It was like, I was like, hold my hand! Hold it! I'm almost there! So anyways, that was just circus. We ended up having the most tripped out night, obviously. We go to clubs. I remember dancing with, Cirque du Soleil, they have like those big Vegas. I don't know how, we ended up dancing with the dancers, like the love dancers. It was a thing. They could dance really well. And I can't. So whatever. We're running to town. I don't know. So many things happened. We met drug dealers. We met these girls from Malibu who were doing coke in the bathroom, and like they taught me how to like hide it in your lipstick, and like I don't remember much, but that's it. And then like there was lasers at some point. I remember at another point. There was like a margarita thing with my friend, like it was like the straw was like a dick and she had to suck it, and if she did, we all got free drinks, so we all had free drinks. It was a crazy night. I didn't know what
So we had the free drinks? We all had free drinks. All of us.
It's not happening. But the night, I don't know, it was like a warp, like a time warp, right? And I end up, we're in the front of Caesar's Palace, and like this daylight, like dusk is starting to like whatever, and like someone thought I was a prostitute, because I think I looked like one at the time, I'm not gonna lie. Like shit got very real that night. And there's really no more of the story other than it was real fun, and I like make sure whenever you do shrooms, maybe give someone a heads up. Don't give it a little nickname. Just be real with it. So this is gonna take you, and it's not gonna leave for another 6 to 8 hours. So that's my story.
I think another takeaway from that story is when someone's food tastes like shit, tell them that it tastes like shit. Right? Like, that's your own fault for being polite. Oh, I guess you'd already eaten it, so it kind of wasn't. I don't know what you could do about it. It's already there. It's already ready. The other thing I would say about that story is, like, can we normalize comfy prostitution? Like, why can't I be a prostitute right now? My $39 Levi's jeans. Sorry. When I was born, my parents bought me. Let's talk about my parents. My parents bought me stock in Circus. And it was like, I don't know, 3 cents or something. It was like their whole thing about like, we're gonna give our child a future. And I didn't even know that shit closed down. Like, I maybe had 75 cents that I could have gotten. probably not worth the stamp they would have used to send it. Reed! Where you at, Reed? Come on down, Reed!
So a couple years ago, I went through a really bad breakup, and it was like one of those breakups that kind of lays you low for a while, and you don't feel like you ever want to talk to or like sleep with another person for a very long time. And I waited way too long, and I was like, you just got to get out there. You got to start making connections again. And so I meet this guy on one of the apps. We go out for a drink, and it's incredible. And he's smart and funny and charming and hot. He's like very hot, and it helps. The other person's very hot. And you're just like, oh, this is so easy. And so like we're having a great time. Like the conversation is just flowing, and one drink turns into 6 drinks, and pretty soon we're back on his couch. We're making out, and like, and he stops and goes, "Hey Google, turn off the lights." Like, on a good day, it's like C-minus game, but he had been killing it all night, and like I hadn't been late in a while, so I was not in a position to be turning down good days. So I was just like, okay, we can deal with this, we can deal with this. And so we keep making out, and pretty soon we start having sex, and it is that like turn your brain off, no holds barred fucking we're just anything goes. Like, I had a French maid's outfit on at one point. I think I don't think big changes during sex, but in my head that's how I was dressed. But it's great. It's so good, and we both finish and like we pick ourselves up off the floor and we head into the bedroom so we can go again. And listen, I was younger. It was easy. So it's like 2 in the morning at this point, and it's dark because Google has turned off the lights. We get in the bedroom, and we're standing at the foot of the bed, and I lean in to kiss him, and he collapses. What? And like, I don't mean like he swoons and sort of falls in. I mean like he turns off and falls to the ground. Like the way it looked was like, imagine like a Halloween plastic skeleton. If somebody just like let it go, like that's like, he was just like a pile of person on the ground. And I don't know if you've ever been like naked in the dark in a strange apartment during a medical emergency, but you are gonna panic. Like you're not gonna remember your 7th grade CPR training. It's not gonna happen. And so like my brain starts screaming at me. It's like, you gotta call an ambulance. And there's like, oh my God, they're gonna think you kill him. And I had this thought of like, oh my God, you're gonna be on Dateline? I'm like, all unhelpful shit. So I get down on the ground and I'm like, I feel his shit, and his heart's still beating. I'm like, yes, now I'm dead. And I'm like, I need to turn the lights on so I can assess the switch, but I don't know where the light switch is, but I remember. But like, in that moment of panic, I knew I had to be polite to make Miss Google work, so I was like, excuse me, hey Google, could you turn on the lights, please? And she was like, yes, absolutely. And it's worse in the light. Like their arms and legs just angles and shit. And I'm on top of it, and I say his name, and I say his name again, and he opens his eyes, and I'm like, oh, thank God. And I say, are you okay? He says, what? And I say, are you okay? Do you need me to call an ambulance? And he goes, I'm fine. And I go, no, you just passed out. And he said, no, I didn't. And I was like, how are you going to fight me? Like, you usually lie naked on the ground with your foot next to your ear? Like, is that what you do if you're home? And he takes a second, and he sits up, and he leans against the bed, and he goes, you know what? Sometimes when I bottom, I get a little overwhelmed and I pass out. Now, like, you don't have, this is 5 minutes, so we don't have the time to fully unpack the insanity of that statement. But like, feel free to take it home with you because it will help. You just have more questions before you think about it. And so, I'm stunned. I don't know what to say. And there's a silence, and then he, in like the greatest moment of like gay perseverance and moxie, goes, but I'm good to go again.
Oh,
And you have to respect that. Like, you have to respect that. And so I got him a glass of water. We went again, and like 4 years later, we're really good friends.
No, I try to have like witty things to say or ways to like draw things into my own experience. I have nothing. So let me go to the bucket because Maymuna. Maymuna also gets bonus points. Give it up, y'all.
Hi everyone, my name is Maymuna. I'm from the DMV. I'm at Howard. I forgot what to say that. So I am in medical school, and when I was at Howard, I was pre-med, and I spent 2 summers in Ghana doing research. Okay. And so the first summer I spent there was quite calm, nothing really to report other than just doing genetic testing the whole time. And then the second summer, I said, well, fuck this. I'm about to go into this country, and I'm going to get lit, and I'm going to get laid, and I'm going to get money. And I did. So, I mean, I was 20 years old at the time. And so this was 5 years ago. And I remember there was a night, I don't know if you guys have ever been to many African countries, but they don't start partying until at least 1 a.m. So I showed up with my friend at the time at midnight, and there was nobody there. And we get free drinks at the bar, and we just start kind of dancing by ourselves. And then I see a guy in his private section staring at me. And you know, when you're 20 and you're cute, it's like, okay. So I'm dancing, and eventually there's a waitress who comes up to me, and she's like, oh, excuse me, ma'am, yes, the guy up there, he would like you to join him at his table. And I'm like, well, you can tell him he has to come to me. And so he like looks at me kind of shocked, and he comes down, and you know, he's like trying to talk me up, and you know, I get a little bend over, give him a little shake, you know what I mean? And eventually my friend and I go back to his table, and you know, bottles are flowing, liquor's great, whatever they got there, I'm taking it, I'm happy. But you know, he's a nigga, he's a player, and so he's back on the prowl looking for his next victim. And so I, you know, go back to the dance floor. And while I was actually there, somebody grabs my wrist, and I think to myself, like, who the fuck is like touching me? You know, like I don't like to be touched in the club. And I turn around, and I just remember slowly scanning this man who had grabbed me, who ended up being like the most beautiful man I had ever seen. A man who in my mind is like my dream. Like, you know the guy who comes to you in your dreams? That was that nigga. And it was like, you know, he had this dark skin, and he was, I fucking love like the white flowy button down shirts on niggas. It just, okay. And I'm like, I'm slowly scanning him, and then I see this full like beard, and then the teeth, and then the lashes, and I definitely experienced what I'm pretty sure is like love at first sight. I mean, you know, whatever that was, but it was that. And so I literally have to like snap out of it, because the guy who had invited me to my table is now like giving me a death glare, like, fuck is you doing, you know? So I like snap out of it, I rush back to the table, but I cannot get this guy out of my mind. And before I left the club, the guy and I, we like actually run into each other right coming out the bathroom, and we exchange numbers, and I'm just kind of blown away. But when we go out of the club, now guy number one, his name is PY, we're just gonna call him that, he offers to drive my friend and I home. So I'm with the bougie guy, I'm with the player, I'm with the nigga, even though I have this kind of lover guy in the back of my head. And we get into the Benz, and I'm like, ooh, nice. You know, like I have very rarely been in a Benz. He drives us home, my friend goes inside the hotel where we're staying, and I'm still talking to this guy in the Benz. And all of a sudden, he's like leaning in for a kiss, and I guess he must have done this before because he immediately like pushes my seat back, lays me back, does not know me, and proceeds to give me head right then and there. I'm 20, y'all. I have never experienced this in my life, and I am now perplexed because I'm like being sexually awakened by simultaneously still thinking about this lover boy in my head. Over the weekend, now PY is texting me. He says he wants to take me out to somewhere really fancy, and okay, sure. There's this whole separate car that comes to pick me up. Now it's a red Range Rover, and I get in, and we are driving to a resort on the coast. And as we're driving, I'm just, my head's out the window, looking at all like, just taking it all in, and we pass like a dress stand. And I'm like, wow, that dress is really beautiful. And I kid you not, he like pulls the car, stops it. He doesn't get out, he waves his hand. A little boy comes trickling from the market, and he says something in whichever language it would have been, maybe it was Tree or God at the time. And the little boy just brings him the dress for me. And he pays the money, and I take the dress, and we drive off in this red Range Rover to the coast. Oh, how my life has changed. So we get to the coast, we're at this restaurant beachside, and he says, you can get whatever you want. So I get all the drinks I want, all the food I want, and we just have a beautiful day where we're just running around on the beach, making out. He takes me back to his place. We have the most incredible sex. I pass out after because I'm so exhausted. And I'm literally limping to the car. And I'm just like, wow, so this is how niggas do it in Ghana. Got it. And I get home, and I get a call from the lover boy. And he's like, oh, I want to take you out tonight. And I'm like, oh, if only you know that I've already been taken out already. And I'm talking on the phone, and I'm being all sweet like nothing has happened. And I agree to go out with him. So the whole summer, I actually ended up being drawn between the lover boy and the fuck boy, literally. And at the end, I actually ended up dating both of them for a very long time. To the extent that the lover boy is now married. And we broke up before then, but he calls me every few months to tell me that he wishes it was me. And the fuckboy flew to me while I was in DC and rented out the most expensive suite at the Watergate and had me stay with him during that time. He is also now engaged, and we have not spoken. So lover boys stay lover boys, fuck boys, they might not always be fuck boys. The end.
Dr. Maimuna! I don't know how medical school works, so we're just gonna go with it. Did anybody see me clutching my non-existent pearl in the corner?
Hey, this mic too hot, so whoever come up here next, get on that one. This joint.
That's true. Yeah, that story was basically about like how everyone should be you. So now after this show, if everyone's looking at you being like, you know why you did that to yourself. Who did this? Eric, because it's his birthday. My guess is you did not put this in. So one of my rules for grown-ups is that you actually have to be cool with telling your own story. So this is an invitation.
Maybe later.
Well, there's only one other name in here. So it's not going to be much later, but you let me know. Yeah, to me it feels like it's always an invitation, and this is not Fight Club rules. You do not have to tell a story just because you are here. This is always an open mic for you. Maybe it takes 5 or 6 times. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 years. It doesn't matter. And can we give it up just a little bit for our listeners in the room? I get that some of you are new to Grown Folk Stories. This is your first time here, and we appreciate that so much. But I have to say, I really don't know a group of people that is more open, more willing, more ready to hold you in whatever vulnerability you're going to step up here in than a Grown Folk Stories audience. So thank you so much for those of you that are just coming here to listen. So few of us in this world actually have the experience of being authentically listened to. This is important. It does not matter if you ever come up on this mic. Being able to be in this space and just hold people while they're sharing something that is true to them is a really beautiful, loving thing to do. So thank you to our listeners. Jonathan. Give it up for Jonathan now! He's pulling double duty as our timekeeper as well. Oh shoot, which means I have to keep the time. No, I do. Stop.
What's up? Yeah, it's my kid's hot. For real. Unfortunately, I gotta come after this. Yeah, they don't remember. This is not part of the story, but if you don't have a first mushroom story, I think you should get one. They're always great. All right, so this is a story about 2 years, like 2000, and I had joined the Marine Corps, and I went to boot camp, and went to my Marine combat training, and then after that, you go to this thing called A school, which is like, it's called MOS school, where like you teach out whatever your job's gonna be when you join the Marine Corps or whatever. My plan was to become a F-18 engine mechanic. F-18 is a aircraft, fighter jet. So I go there, we learn how, they're like, well, no, we don't want you to be an engine mechanic. We want you to fix sheet metal. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Choices. So I ended up doing that, become a hydraulic and sheet metal mechanic. And then after that, I was like, cool, well, now I know how to do that. Let me, you know what I'm saying? F-18. So like, nah, you're gonna be on helicopters. I was like, all right, cool. Choices. So in that transition, you're at school, you meet a whole bunch of different people, and then it's like 2 other guys that are coming with me from that school. And so we're heading to California to go to our next check-in school to learn how to work on Hughes and Cobras, helicopters, attack helicopters. And it's like, all right, cool. So these 2 guys I was with, Daniel and the other one, Aborn, whatever, that's his last name. So they're both from Ohio, Caucasian. So they're like, hey man, we're gonna be in San Diego. No, we should go to Tijuana. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I have never been to Tijuana, but we have heard stories about Tijuana. It's like there's things you don't go, there's places you don't go. You know what I'm saying? There's places you know what I'm saying, you're not from Chicago. You know, certain places in Chicago you just don't go because you've never been there. Same thing about LA, whatever. It's like, hey, you don't go that part of Mexico. You just don't go. It's not cool. It's not safe. So they're like, nah, we won't go. I'm like, hey, I don't think it's a good idea. You know what I'm saying? Don't go. So we get back, they're like, no, we're gonna go. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, well, no, since you guys are gonna go, at least I'll be the responsible one or whatever, and we're gonna go, and you know what I'm saying, I have to look out for these guys and make sure that they don't, you know what I'm saying, get in too much trouble. So we get down there, get down to the border, cross the border, we're a little money, whatever, because we're not getting paid a lot. And of course, they want to go to strip club. So we at a strip club, and then, you know what I'm saying, we're enjoying it. It's a cool little strip club and a lot of stuff going on. At the bar, we're drinking and stuff. And then I'm like, all right, this things are cool. It's not that bad, whatever. We drinking, enjoying ourselves. I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying, I'm relaxed a little bit, have a good time, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, break out some dollars, whatever. Give me a lap dancer too, whatever, since we out here doing this, whatever. So, you know, I go upstairs. She's like, you want a lap dance? I'm like, yeah. I'm gonna go upstairs, get my lap dance, come back downstairs to the main floor, and nice starting to lock up, whatever. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm looking around, I'm like, hey, Warren, hey, where's Daniel at? Oh no, he went upstairs to get a lap dance. Like, all right, cool. So I go upstairs, hey man, we're about to leave. So I go upstairs, I'm looking for him, can't find him. Club clearing out, come back downstairs. I'm like, you see him? Like, nah. All right. Oh, we gotta find him. We gotta check in like with the sergeant major and like 5, like we gotta check in like about 12. He's like, all right, well, let's go find him, whatever. So we're searching the club. By this time, the club is empty. Dude is gone.
Damn.
I'm like, man, we gotta check in. In a few hours, whatever, this dude's gone. So we're in other strip clubs, we're at all these other little spots, whatever. You can't be found. So I go to this one club, I walk in this little skinny hallway, it's these 6 Mexican dudes in there, and walking this like short ceiling, small hallway, and I'm walking in there, and they're like, what you looking for? And I'm like, don't worry about it. So, and they're like, you can tell, I mean, some of y'all, I'm sure y'all know, that you tell people size you up, and I'm like, oh, this about to go down. So I'm like, all right, I got the 6 Mexican dudes, I'm by myself, but I'm like, know what, all right, if they go down, whatever, I'm taking 3 of y'all with me though. That's what's going to happen tonight, whatever. I may be down, but 3 of y'all are going to the Mexican house for the night. That's going down, whatever. So they could tell my posture changed, whatever. They came around me, I got my back against the wall. I'm like, nah, man, I was looking for my friend. And they were like, all right, man, just go ahead and go. So they let me out, we get back, whatever. And then by this time, it's 6 in the morning. We can't find this dude. Dude gone. At this point in time, I was like, do we stay or do we go check in? I was like, we just want to go check in and just drop this L like, hey, Sergeant, man, we lost somebody in Mexico. So we leave, we go back to the hotel, and we get to the hotel, and he's sitting outside the hotel door. In San Diego. We're in Tijuana, which is like 30 minutes away. He's at our hotel in San Diego, sitting on the floor, soaking wet. I was like, bro, where you been at? He's like, man, I got, I went home with one of those. I was like, so I went home and then like, so I started taking my stuff off. And then she's like, oh, my boyfriend started knocking the door. You just got to get up out of here. You rushed him out. So I left all my stuff, my wallet, my watch, and all this stuff. It was all gone. I was like, he's like, so I didn't have a way to get back. So I had to swim back to America. Culturally in America, it's the other way around. So I was like, bro, like, all right. I'm like, bro, all right, cool. So he's like, I swam back, and then some Navy dude was just running on the beach. Was like, hey man, what are you doing? He was like, hey, I lost all my stuff, whatever. I need to ride back to the hotel, whatever. So he gave me a ride back to the hotel, and sure enough, this dude came back, and then we got back, changed clothes, took a shower, checked in. We was like, we're here to report. All right, we're here, so thank you.
Jonathan's performing triple duty tonight, actually, because he is also my boyfriend. And he looked me dead in the eyes when he said Mexican strip club. So thanks, babe! It's alright, I'm not jealous. No, I'm jealous. Oh, wait, there's nothing else in here. Eric, this is your invitation. Should you like to come on up here? Invitation. Do you all want to hear a story from Eric?
Alright, I'll tell a super quick story. I don't like, telling too many stories. So, first of all, I have an amazing staff, so thanks to all the Silver Road staff for stories. Yeah, I started this like 10 years ago. We started this just to get people to be able to share stories, and so thank you for still being a part of this. So, quick story. I was in Montreal. It was many years ago. I was going to see Bjork because I love Bjork. She wasn't playing anywhere in North America except for Montreal. So I'm in Montreal by myself, and I'm just like having a great time. So I see the concert, and then I go have dinner the next day. I'm in old Montreal by myself, just like chilling. I try to find the nicest restaurant I can go to. So I just wanted to treat myself, So I'm at this restaurant, and I'm having good food, and I'm not a big drinker, but I had a couple glass of wine, and just like, it was like gonna be a big bill, you know what I mean? Like I was treating myself, And so I'm waiting for the bill to come, and the waiter comes over and he's like, Monsieur, this is my French. He's like, your bill is taken care of, it's paid. And I'm like, what? Like, how was my bill paid, So I'm just like confused. So I'm like, maybe this guy didn't understand what I was saying. And so I said, I wanted the bill, He's like, no, the bill is taken care of, So he's like looking at this table across the corner, So I'm looking, and like this table is like a family. It's like the father, the mother, 2 kids, they like staring at me, right? And so he comes back again. He says, this table right here, they took care of your bill. He says, you're the favorite actor, John Cheadle. He said, they helped you in Ocean's 11. It's a family movie. And so, man, this bill was like $200, right? So I'm like, that was good.
James Harden. Can we give it up for James Harden, y'all? John Cheadle in the house. So my hair used to be longer and I used to be thinner and I signed some autographs as Michelle Rodriguez. Y'all, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. This is great. I actually have not hosted Grown Folk Stories since November, and I was really itching for this. This is beautiful. So thank y'all so much for coming out. Please go buy some Funkytown brews, take them home. They can get all 3. Woo Up to Bam, Hip Hop and R brews, and The Black is Beautiful.
It'll be available at Roswell Winery.
Wait.
Talk your shit!
They will be available at Roswell Winery, a new spot opening up end of March, hopefully end of March. 4420 South Pines Road.
And what?
They're all available here right now.
Okay, young man who spent some time in the theater department, project! That was delightful. Yes, so we really encourage you, if you loved what you experienced tonight, please follow Grown Folk Stories on social medias. Follow the Silver Room. Oh yeah, we don't have a location for Grown Folk Stories next month. You've got to be backyard. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so follow our Instagram account, follow our Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Sign up for newsletters from the Silver Room as well. You'll get information about Grown Folk Stories, but also a lot of really other great events that the Silver Room does throughout the city. So we really encourage you to come back, listen, tell a story, just come have some laughs. That's what we're really all about. So thank you so much to our fabulous Silver Room staff who are here. Thank you so much to Jonathan, our fabulous timer. Thank you so much to Funkytown Brewery who gave us wonderful access to this space tonight. Did you want to say something as a way of closing out? Sure. Always an invitation.
Nothing
Let's go,
to say.
bitch. Let's go, bitch.
Yeah, thank you for coming out. Please grab some free stickers and magnets. We really appreciate it, Eric. Like, I appreciate you just inviting us out here. We're brand new entrepreneurs. We're trying to find other black entrepreneurs out here that are just doing the same thing. And it's just very welcoming to have you bring us into the space to kind of help further our mission, as well as partner with some dope shit. So just appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Be very safe getting home. Take your time. Be safe. I get it. We're Chicagoans. We understand snow, but just take good care. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. Take care.